We could have homes on separate coasts, go dive in Greece with squids. Could have been so bleeping rich, but instead we had kids. They won't smile for a photo, they won't eat the food we choose. That's why we're heading to the parents' lounge to drown ourselves in booze. Every day we're more exhausted, we haven't slept in years. They hit me in the nuts so bad, my eyes filled up with tears. And yes, we'd like to fake our death and go off of the grids, but the truth is we are softies and we truly love our kids. So join us every Tuesday night to laugh at all our pain. Evening in the parents' lounge is the cure to staying sane.
Hello!
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy 420.
What's this all about?
We're going to get into it. Well, for those of you who are like, why isn't this Tuesday? Am I high? You may well be high. Woohoo! Professional X is high. The waiting music sounded like we were about to lip sync for our lives on RuPaul's Drag Race. Happy 420, people. Happy 420.
And Stephanie, you actually will be lip syncing for your life later in the show. Yeah, that's actually how we're going to do this today.
I'm just drinking. Happy 420. Well, it's super funny. I mean, okay, welcome to another edition of the Parents Lounge. We might have a special guest popping in, I feel like, maybe at some point.
What?
Yeah, we might have some. Oh, actually, we do. Never mind. Going right to it. All right, so welcome. Happy 420. We were going to talk about pop movies, and I was scrolling through pop movies, and I'm not a huge pop movie fan, but I saw one that I loved, and I was like, oh, that's right. I should text him and see if he'll come in to our Happy 420 show. We have an interview with a pop lawyer. That was the whole reason we did the show tonight. But let's just talk. Let's talk about the greatest pop movie of all time. Everyone who's watching, Happy 420. Please welcome from Super Troopers and the Broken Lizard comedy group, and from Tacoma FD, and from the upcoming feature film Quasi, Steve Lemme joined us.
Oh, hi.
Yay!
Oh, hi. What's up?
Lemno, what's happening?
Yeah, you know what? You just texted me. I'm whitening my teeth on 420. So if I speak with a little bit of a lisp, it's because I got the things in.
You're whitening your teeth.
Exactly. Yeah. I usually tell that to the police every time I get pulled over. I go, listen, I might be slurring a little bit, but I'm whitening my teeth.
Whitening my teeth, yeah. Same.
Whitening my teeth is code for doing cocaine. That's really what it is.
Yeah. Just
is this a family podcast?
No, not at all.
What is this? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? What's going on?
It's called the Parents Lounge, and what it is, it's a parental mental health day where people join us, and we talk about the travails of having children and how painful it is, and then we all laugh, and we have a couple cocktails, and then we all go home. Pretty simple.
Do you know what I'm doing? This like right now, I'm just trying to untangle this. I literally, if I seem like I'm not interested, so I'm looking down at this thing. Hi.
Hey, so I did. You know what's funny? So you did like the cordless earbuds, right? Like everybody else.
I was going to plug in.
I got rid of. I hate the cordless ones. I hate them, and I like the plug-in ones because
I do too.
I hang them out my shirt, and then I can put them in. Whereas the cordless ones, it's like sometimes technology goes too far, and I need a cord, Steve.
Yeah, no, I'm just. It's like this is rote at this point, but it's like the amount of, and I'm still untangling these things. Like the amount of different products I've had to buy from Apple because they keep changing the ports. I find to be unacceptable. And like this new, I've got the iPhone. I think this is the 12.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be you had the charging thing, and then you had the actual, this port for your phone. And now they changed it to one thing, like it's because they want you to use the earbuds. And, I like to jog with my phone, and those earbuds fall out of my ears. And
yeah, I'm a very sweaty person. The same thing happens to me. So they bloop immediately. It just falls right out.
And so just to be clear, it's 4:20. After that little talk about your earbuds, you're not stoned, right?
Okay, I got them in. I got it untangled and I got them in. I'm so much more relaxed. And anybody who's tuning in that missed the fact that I'm whitening my teeth right now, this is me at home. This is me in my habitat. Okay. Yeah, it's 4:20. I'm not high.
The mustache is back in full bloom because you guys are starting shooting, or have you started? Man, can we talk about? I don't want. Oh, he muted himself. Now you muted, Steve. Or it's just maybe he's.
You're muted.
Hey,
there we go.
There we go. Are they not working?
Then I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you couldn't. So the earbuds didn't work.
They didn't work. You were able to hear me. You were nodding at what I was saying, but I couldn't hear you.
We were just nodding. We couldn't hear a word you were saying.
We couldn't hear a word you were saying.
I don't think they were plugged in well.
Oh, okay. I Jesus Christ, I'm a mess.
Again, just to be clear, so everyone's on the same page. You are not high right now.
I'm not high. It would seem that I am.
Yeah, you feel very. I mean, not like 2-pot cookies, but a guy who's like a wake and baker and just always.
You're like a half Brownian, I would say, if I had to guess.
Well, and I've certainly been totally unfocused since I've come on this thing. I'm slurring a little bit because I'm whitening my teeth.
Cheryl Gibson says this is totally harshing my buzz. Oh my God. I just realized who Steve is. Yeah, Lemmy's here. I know. It was without much ado. We didn't advertise you or anything. All of a sudden, Steve Lemmy's here. Well, the reason is because it's 4:20, and I know you guys all of a sudden, Broken Lizard. It's funny too because you guys are all educated cats who are really hardworking. Heffernan he's a lawyer who passed the bar
in 2 states.
You guys are in 2 states.
Yeah.
Did you know that Jason Kevin Heffernan?
I did not know that. No.
This guy in the group is probably the smartest guy in the group, and he. He is. He definitely is. There's no two ways. And he's the hardest working guy, I feel like.
He definitely is. He definitely is. But listen, they say work hard. Don't work hard. Wait, work smarter, not harder, right? That's what they say. And like on our show on Tacoma FD, he gets asked all the hard questions. He does the budget. God, these tooth whiteners. I might be high. I think these. What if what they should make is weed teeth whiteners.
That's
whitening dummy.
Yeah. And I've also taken off my glasses, and so I feel high because everything's just blurry. Okay, on our TV show, Heffernan handles like the budget, and like right now, like for instance, when I go back to my email right now, there are going to be 20 more emails because we start shooting in 3 weeks, and it's like, props are like, okay, I don't want to spoiler alert, but like we're getting a new station in the show, and so like the set is all new, and so there's like 20 questions.
Not in the same location.
Same location, but the station has been renovated.
Oh, nice.
And so like every day there'll be 20 questions from set deck, and then there's production, and then there's locations because we start scouting locations, and then there's props. They've got all these questions about props, and then scripts, blah blah blah. And I just don't answer, and Heffernan just does all the answers. And when people people come to me to like organize the rap party, and like it was Heffernan's brother who was like, of the EPs, you actually have the better job. You're not doing the EP stuff. You're just hanging out, doing the creative. I do the writing.
You EP in the way that you need to. You delegate authority for the other things that other people do, but you do. That's Steve Jobs. You just had to say, "Hey, round the corner of the phone." That's all you do.
Well, there's a truth to this. So Heffernan is a lawyer in 2 states, and he went to law school. He might even be OCD, and he's a little anal and he's a little pedantic. And so, he dots the I's, he crosses the T's. If you say, what time is it? And you're like, oh, it's 7:00. He'll say 6:59 after you to correct you and give the person the correct time. That's the kind of guy he is. On any given job, we're both going to look at it, but like he's definitely going to look at it and make comments on it and do the thing. So I might as well not, because then it's like I'm just wasting my time. Like if he doesn't do it, there's a chance I might not do it. Sure. So he has to do it. Either way, it all works out for the best. We're a nice yin and yang, and I have a great EP partner. What am I talking about? I must be high.
You sound I'm getting like maybe it's just residual high from all the years of. You guys aren't you just, here's what's really funny, because I came to see your screening of your new one, Quasi, and even before the movie, I asked Kevin, I said, because let's face it, Broken Lizard's target audience is stoners. You have a strong affiliation with stoners, I feel like, right?
Yeah, our audience tends to be half stoners and half cops.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
And or stoned cops.
Or stoned cops.
Well, these days, yeah, for sure. But like we would do live shows, and you'd see like there'd be a bunch of people like central casting, like long hair and tie dyes, and then the other half of the room is like dudes with buzz cuts and fucking jacked. And it's a funny representation. And then they would interact with each other. They wouldn't know how to interact with each other. Nowadays with legalized weed, it's the lines have become blurred.
Well, that's what this shit. It's so funny because the reason we're doing the show tonight is because we did an interview with a lawyer, Brian Ross, who came on, and he reached out. He's a pot lawyer and wanted to be on the show. He's also a dad of 2. So we had, like, in my head, I saw Tommy Chong, who's like, dude, the law and pot, nothing like that.
That's what I expected. And he
came on.
He reveals in the interview that he's actually one of the guys that was helping Napster take people down.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
He was helping take down Napster. Yeah.
He's helping weed places, like, with all of their lawyer up stuff. So it's super interesting. And he wouldn't talk about like whether his kid, like we're like, well, you smoke pot. He's like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. Like it's really informative because I didn't know where 420 came from. And then he talks about like all the legalization in the country. It was super interesting. And we're going to play that at the end of this, but we figured we go live for a bit just to say hi, because we have a lot of fans who are putting comments in. And so that's what this thing turns out to be. It's a whole list of people who then comment on. I still don't know if people really know that you're Steve Lemme from Broken Lizard. All of a sudden you can see like one of the comments is like, wait a minute, is that the guy that I think it is? And then she Googled you.
She Googled it, yeah. She did.
The Tacoma FD.
I'm glad I can't see any of the comments. It might hurt my feelings.
No,
they've all been very nice so far.
Brother.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no. That was what was really funny. And there's a bunch of stoners. It's really funny. She's like, she says, I'm a stoner and I'm married to a cop.
Who? Oh, wait. Cheryl Gibson. I Googled.
She Googled Lemmy.
I Googled. Oh,
Shane. He has triplets, right? This guy, right?
He has triplets.
That's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
How old are the triplets?
7 or 8, I believe.
Gotta be at this point, right? I don't know.
Triplet boys, triplet girls, or can you mix triplets?
He has 2 boys and 1 girl.
Good Lord.
Which it feels to me like the hospital, they like he had twins, and then there was an extra baby, and I think they just threw it in with the package to go like, look, let's get rid of this kid.
I have a friend who he and his wife were having trouble conceiving for a long time. They tried a lot of different things. And so, God damn it, I'm taking.
White enough to wait. So I got to start whitening mine before. I don't shoot for 3 months though.
You don't shoot until like late August, September.
I'm coming with a full beard for it, I think.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. And I want to purple my beard as well, if that's possible.
No. Well, we have someone who can do that for you. It's, by the way, it's actually her birthday today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's a 420. Shane, see, that's one of the things that like we didn't expect when we made our movies. The dream was only to get a movie in one theater, and then Super Troopers came out, and it was still a few years. It was like the slow burn. It was when it got to DVD, and then all of a sudden, military started showing up as a huge part of our fan base, and we didn't ever think about this, but I guess people overseas, and this is like 2004, 2005 at this point. I guess it really got a lot of people through some pretty shitty times, and that was a side effect that we didn't see coming. And I think it's probably the coolest thing is we've met a lot of military. We've gone to like Camp Pendleton, Fort Hood, and it's just cool to see that we had a little piece of helping people out through tough times.
Yeah, it's super cool, dude. And it's really, I mean, it's amazing. And it's kind of turned into this crazy cult classic. I mean, you're right. Didn't it started really low key and all of a sudden it just started to gain momentum and kind of took off over the country, I think, right?
Yeah, it was, it did okay in the theaters. I think it made like $18 million in the theaters. It made $6 million opening weekend. And we didn't, there were no stars in it or anything. And the studio was really excited about that and deemed it a huge success. And the movie came and went. It was in the movie theaters for like 6 weeks, 7 weeks, something like that, which is small, relatively small when you think about like, Captain America.
Yeah.
And then it came out on DVD, and like a few years went by. And I remember we were Broken Lizard. We were walking down Amsterdam Avenue in New York City, and a dude came running out of a bar and was like, "Holy shit, you guys are the Super Troopers." This is the first time we got recognized. And we were like, yeah. And he's like, "I'm the bartender. Get in here. Free drinks all night." We were like, yeah, fuck yeah. And we went in there, and it was like, I don't know if like he clicked the switch or something, but then it was like a few days later, somebody recognized us, and then it just started happening. And it was like, but it was a slow burn, and so it's like.
Well, it's funny too, with 420, all of your movies, like, what they say is like I'm in Family Stone, right? Every Christmas I get text messages because it gets played all over December, but I would imagine all the Broken Lizard, Beerfest. I love Beerfest.
Beerfest is great. Yeah,
my favorite. But I feel like on 420, somewhere every city has like a theater that's playing like a cult Super Troopers movie or a cult.
I wouldn't be surprised if I turned on like Comedy Central right now, and it was playing.
It is on one of the It's either on, and it was on the front page of, I want to say like Hulu or Netflix or something a couple days ago. I was like, hey. And that's like 20 years ago with Super Troopers?
Came out in 2002, yeah.
Yeah, 20 years ago. Yeah. Where's the re-release with the voiceover commentary with the DVD or something? They don't do that anymore.
They don't do that anymore. I think it's the thing I miss most about DVDs, and the fact that they're going away is that the thing that turned me on the most about DVDs in the first place was the director commentary.
Oh, yeah.
And then the special features. And I guess they're starting to have that now, where if you rent a movie, they'll have a couple of little featurettes or something like that. But, there were so many of us that we used to do 2 commentaries. And then it was like a battle, like who had the best commentary. So like, I know in Super Troopers, Kevin and I did ours together, and Jay and Paul and Eric did theirs together, and ours fucking crushed theirs.
And then Shane asked, did you guys have as much fun as it seemed making those films, or was it more work than fun?
I mean, every single film has been a blast,
right,
to make, and for different reasons. Puddle Cruiser was the first movie we made. I mean, we made some short films, but like that was a feature film, and we shot that on our college campus over the summer. And we were like 25 at that point, but we went back there. The campus was deserted. We stayed in our fraternity house, where we were all in the same fraternity, and it was, we were making a movie, and it was a blast. And then Super Troopers was, we were making, it was, the budget was $1 million, and that was huge for us. And we had Linda Carter in the movie, and like,
did she take 950,000 of it?
Yes, 960, very close.
Can you still chug maple syrup like a champ? These people know your movie, brother.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Well, the funny thing is that like I didn't chug maple syrup in that movie. It was Jay and Stolhansky, and they did like 2.5 bottles each, and we tried to do iced tea for them, something tasty, but the bubbles were too fast. Like the glug wasn't slow enough, like syrup, and we didn't have money for CGI or anything, so they actually had to do it for real, and they did like 2.5 bottles each, and instantly went into a sugar coma, and they were ill. And then like on the 10-year anniversary, Kevin and Jay and I went on Attack of the Show on the G4 network with Olivia Munn. She was hosting, and she wanted to chug maple syrup. And Kevin and I were like, we don't actually do it in the movie. It should just, you guys can chug it. But anyway, the 4 of us chugged it, and it killed me. One pint of maple syrup killed me.
I mean, how did Olivia Munn take it?
Well, so it like we chugged it, and then she still had like 2 more hours of show to go. And Kevin and Jay and I got out of there, and like I got in my car and I got on the 101, and it was packed, and it was like rush hour, and all of a sudden I felt my belly, my bowels start rumbling, and it was like I honestly like it's the only time in my life I was like, I think I'm gonna shit in my pants in this car. I don't even think the traffic is so bad here. I don't think I can make it over to the shoulder and get out of the car and poop on the side of the road while everybody's driving by watching. Like I was like, that's what I have to do. And I don't even think I can make it. It was that hard. And I actually did make it home. And sitting on the can, I texted Olivia Munn and Heffernan and Jay, and I said, fuck you, Olivia Munn, for making me chug this syrup. Mm-hmm. I'm having the worst blowout of my life. And then Heffernan chimed in and was like, God, I'm so fucking mad at you, Olivia Munn. You're making us chug the maple syrup. We don't even chug maple syrup in the movie. And she texts back. She's like, fuck you guys. I'm having the same thing, but at least you guys are home on your personal toilet. This is what I'm doing right now. And she texted us a photo of her doing a bit in a tight Wonder Woman costume. And her lower belly was swollen from the amount of syrup-induced poopies that were now filling her belly. And so anyway, it was a very funny interaction.
That makes me like Olivia Munn a little bit more. That's a great story, man. That's really funny.
Isn't that just me name dropping about taking a group?
No. That's a good one. That's a good one. You get some other better name dropping one. The Swayze's your best name dropping one of all time.
Swayze's a good one. God, Swayze's a good one. Are you prompting me to tell the Swayze stories?
He definitely was. He definitely was planting breadcrumbs.
It was his name dropping story. It's one of my favorite bits that I've heard you talk about before, and I know you're still a Swayze fanatic.
I loved Swayze. I love Swayze. All the guys in Broken Lizard loved Swayze. Like we used to, when a new Swayze movie came out, we would like stop our writing. If we were having like writer's block, we're like, let's go watch Black Dog. Let's go. Black Dog that's the Swayze trucker movie. I remember.
Hold on, Lori Gabe was like, what did I just click on? Lori, any idea? Do you have any idea what's happening? I hope she has kids. She's like,
because if you could tell us, we also don't know why we're here.
I don't know what I'm doing here.
From Super Troopers is here for 420 before we play an interview with a pot lawyer to tell us stories about Patrick Swayze and Olivia Munn. It's actually maybe my favorite show of all time so far. So you would, if you had writer's block, you'd go check. Swayze's known for breaking writer's block. That was one of his main skills.
Black Dog was his trucker movie, and we went.
Liam Neeson's in that, by the way, I believe.
No, that's Next of Kin.
Oh, that's Next of Kin.
A great one, though. Also,
you're absolutely right. Right. We don't need the pot lawyer. I will put him on at midnight. It'll be fine. It's all Lemmy all the time.
Next week. But it's like Point Break. Yeah, I don't know if you can get a better movie than Point Break, honestly. And then you look at Patrick Swayze's resume, and you're like, well, actually, there's a few on here. Ghost and Dirty Dancing are classic films that appeal. It's rare that you get somebody that appeals to both sexes equally. And Swayze was one of those guys. He was. Because a lot of times it's like when the guy's like, oh, the sexiest man alive on People magazine, the other guy's like, fuck, bullshit. Schwarzenegger's sexier than that guy, or like when guys are like, oh, I like this guy. Ladies are like, you know what? He's too much of he's just an asshole, or like he's taught, like, I don't get it. But like, a couple, any couple could come together and be like, do you want to go see the new Patrick Swayze movie? Should we go see Dirty Dancing? Should we go see Ghost?
Yeah.
Should we go see Roadhouse? Everyone likes Roadhouse, even though
he had to fight. He fought for Ghost. He fought for Dirty Dancing too. Nobody would see him in a romantic movie, and he fought for them. And then you see them, and you're like, oh yeah, Red Dawn. He's amazing. Outside.
Red Dawn. I forget about Red Dawn.
To Wong Fu. Is that the one?
Even like think about The Outsiders. Like, look at the cast of The Outsiders.
Right.
You've got young, like Rob Lowe, who's being discovered, who's everybody's like, oh my God, this is the best looking man anyone has ever seen.
He still is.
He still is ridiculous. People are going crazy for this guy. He's so fucking good looking.
Yep.
You've got Matt Dillon in his young prime. Like he's just starting, and he's the bad boy. You've got Tom Cruise over there, like a young Tom Cruise. Emilio Estevez, you've got all these guys. And who's the guy who plays the big brother who could kick anyone's ass, who they're all afraid of? It's Patrick Swayze.
Hey, Lorenzo, don't forget Lorenzo Lamas. He was one of the
right.
And Diane Lane, who's Cherry. Oh, Pop's Cherry. Oh my God.
Cherry Valance. Oh my God.
Dude.
Yeah. Well,
you're all right, Jamie? You okay?
I like Diane Lane. I always have.
I love Diane Lane.
I love Diane Lane. Although I'm apparently criminally insane, but I love Diane Lane.
I don't. It maybe so, but aren't we all in some way?
Yeah. No.
I mean, some are worse than others.
Yes, of course.
But Patrick Swayze. So we were in between. We'd made our movie Polo Cruiser. We had not yet made Super Troopers. But the girl who so originally George Clooney's assistant was a girl named Amy Cohen, and she wanted to get into producing. And she asked George, and this is when he was in like his perfect storm days and had just gotten out of ER and was like doing like he did Perfect Storm, and he did like The Peacemaker, and he was in that period of time, and he had a production deal, and she asked him, she said she wanted to produce something. He said, if you can find a movie for under $5 million, my company, Maysville was the name of the company at the time, we'll produce it. And she found the Super Trooper script, and I don't know how. And so he said he would produce it. And so all of a sudden we started getting all these meetings and going to these parties. And Heffernan and I and our producer, Rich Perello, went to this party with Amy, and it was like it was our first Hollywood party. And it was like at a hotel pool. They had synchronized swimmers in the pool, and like, the whole thing. And like Heffernan and I got dressed up, we were wearing, black mock turtlenecks and, looking good. And there's like buffet and celebrities. Like I remember there was like, we saw like, like Michael Richards was over there, and like, Carrot Top was at this party. No shit. Carrot Top was there. We were like, oh, fucking yeah. And then we were like, oh my God, it's fucking P-Swayze. It's Patrick Swayze. He's right there. And like, he's just there. Patrick Swayze is at this party, and we're staring at him, and we're like, holy shit. Like, what should we do? Should we talk to him? Like, what would we even say to him? And like, we went through the list of all the movies and like all the quotes, and we're like, we should just go and fucking charm his pants off. Like, just like hit him and bombard him and be charming and everything. Eventually we were just chickening out, and we were just standing at the side, like just staring at him from like 50 feet away. Heffernan went to the buffet table, and Amy Cohen came over to me, and she was like, Steve, I know you're a huge Patrick Swayze fan. let me introduce you to Patrick. And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, but we have to go right now because he's about to leave the party. And I was like, and I looked over for Heffernan, and he's across on the other side of the pool. He's, stuffing food in his mouth at the buffet table. And I was like, all right, fuck him. Yeah, let me go. And so we walk over, and Swayze's with his wife, and then a couple other, like, I suspect, reps. And they bring us over, and Amy goes, well, we have a real Patrick Swayze fan in the midst here. And Swayze looks at me, he goes, really? And I was like, really? And everybody starts looking at us like they're all smiling. And I think Amy had prepped him that she was going to bring me over because everyone was like, this is so cool. A Patrick Swayze fan's going to, meet Patrick. And I did something brash. I said, as I got flustered, I was like, hey, Patrick, let's go talk over here. And I pulled him away from the group of people. And I brought him over. There was like a Chinese lantern over on the side. I brought him over there, and it was just the two of us now. And I looked at him, and I looked right into those eyes, and I was like, holy fucking shit. This is Patrick Swayze. Like, I'm so out of my depth here. Like, and I froze. I literally couldn't think of a single fucking joke. And he's like, so what's up? And I was like,
I love that he's like, so what's up?
He goes, so what's up? And I go, I don't know. I go, tell me about Youngblood. And he goes, well, what do you want to know? And I go, I don't know, anything.
That's the worst question of all time.
Yeah. Tell me about Youngblood. What the fuck? And he's like, well, as you know, I was a figure skater, which I did not know. And he's like, I was a good skater, but the real hockey players weren't allowed to check me. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. I just made a movie called Puddle Cruiser, which hadn't come out. And I played rugby, and those guys weren't allowed to hit me. And he goes, cool. And then I was like, so is Swayze like, is that like your stage name or? And he goes, no, it's my real name. And I was like, well, like what kind of a name is it? And he goes, it's British. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize British names had Z's in them. And he's like, they do. And then I just sat there with him. And before I knew it, a body came in front of me. And I saw his finger twitch a little bit. I didn't realize what it was. And then a blur passed in front of me, and it was Matt Dillon. And Matt Dillon looked at me and he goes, excuse me, bub. Or however the fuck he talks. And he put himself between me and Patrick and put his back to me. And in the moment I realized that Swayze had given the help psycho fan signal, and I was the psycho fan. And I realized Swayze was done with me. And I bowed my head and I walked away shamefully. And Heffernan now, he had seen the whole thing. And he was like half pissed, but also like, holy shit. He runs up to me. He's like, oh my God, Patrick Swayze and Matt Dillon tell me everything. And I was like, there's nothing to tell. I told him the whole thing. And he's like, you're a fucking loser. You're a fucking loser. And then, of course, that night we had some laughs about it because, like, we were actually renting a room from a guy, and we were sleeping in the same room. And I was in bed. He was on the futon, and I was giggling because I was fantasizing about how it should have gone. And like, it's like we were riding horses together, and like it was fucking great. And but then like we made Super Troopers, and it got into Sundance. And Stuff Magazine, which is defunct now, but like they were going to throw a party for us at Sundance opening night, and all these people's publicists started calling to get their celebrity clients put on the guest list. And our producer Rich Perella came running in one day. He's like, "You're never going to believe which publicist just called. You're never going to believe which actor's coming to the party." And I go, P. Swayze? He goes, Patrick fucking Swayze. So I got another crack at Swayze, and sure enough, Patrick Swayze showed up at our party, and he's looking around, and he sees me, and does like a triple take, and he points at me, and he starts making a beeline towards me, and I'm with Heffernan, and he starts making a beeline towards me, and I'm like, holy fuck, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, and he comes up to me, he's like, you, have we met before? And I said, no, we have not. And he was like, you look really familiar to me. And I was like, I don't know why. And he's like, oh, I know. You're in Super Troopers. I just saw the movie. And I was like, yes, that's exactly. He's like, good movie. And I was like, thank you. I'm a big fan of yours. And we had some laughs and we had some cocktails. And that night I had the time of my life.
Oh.
Right up until Matt Dillon walked up and went, hey, bub, what's up, man? What's
Fucking
up,
Matt Dillon. Matt Dillon. God damn it.
That's still like, dude, that makes me laugh so hard. That's amazing though about Super Troopers. I mean, you had a shot at redemption. I mean, the rest of us, we all have those stories where I met somebody where I put my foot in my mouth, and then I never got to like go back and go like, hey, no, I'm okay. The worst way to ever get introed is like, Patrick, this is Steve. He's a really big fan of yours. I mean, it's almost like a Make-A-Wish Foundation intro where you're like, this is Steve. Steve only has a couple weeks to live, but he'd really like to talk to you about Red Dawn, if that's just for a minute. Yeah,
he's a huge Red Dawn fan. And he also is a Michigan Wolverines fan. And he just wants you to shout Wolverines. Can you do that? Do you not know what I'm talking about? That's the name of them in Red Dawn. They're the
No, I was reading one of the things. I was waiting to go Wolverines. Of course, dude. That's their high school mascot.
Yeah. Let's see what this is.
Just dropping in to say that one of these streams started randomly playing on my closed laptop in the middle of the night a weekend ago when I was home alone. Well, Sarah.
Well, ghosts also like this show, so I mean, ghosts will do that.
The liminal version of the Parents Lounge, where I mean, kids wake you up at 5 a.m. Steve has a couple of children who apparently don't like my children, I believe. Carlos is very upset with Hannah for some reason.
Because what happened is we had you over here on July 4th, mm-hmm. and Carlos was in the hot tub. He's 10. He was in the hot tub with your two daughters and a third girl.
He was holding court. It was like mini Hef.
From where I was standing, it looked great. And the story I heard sounds fantastic. Your oldest daughter mm-hmm. was trying to get Carlos to kiss the third girl.
Sure.
And that angered Carlos. He took that personally, like Michael Jordan. He didn't like that. And so I think like, did you guys come over a couple weeks later? Yes.
Yeah.
For his birthday party. Mm-hmm. And he was really upset that your daughters were going to be there because he was mad. He was holding a grudge that they wanted him to kiss another girl.
We'll see how he feels in a couple of years.
I tried to tell him, I was like, dude, redheaded girls, just be patient.
Be patient, brother.
They'll grow into something you like.
They're going to light your car on fire. But you're going to have some great stories, brother. You're going to have some great.
Listen, it's the fear factor. I mean, that's what makes people fall in love and get married.
My wife's a redhead. I mean, it's I fear she's going to kill me in my sleep as much as I.
So wait, you are living literally with 3 red-haired women. How do you just sleep in like a closed box, locked in? Because it's intense, my friend.
Every morning I wake up and I go, fuck, I got to do this again. Here we go. Waiting for it all to.
But Kaler's redheaded too, like he's got.
Kaler's red. Beer's coming in white, but it's I was a gingy.
And he's on our show. He's a purple.
He's a purple. We won't actually get in trouble. I got in trouble. Listen, man, I don't want to beat you up. I love that you. I mean, it made me laugh so hard because we literally at like 6:45. I was looking at movies. We were going to talk about the best stoner movies, and I was like, Super Troopers. Hey, Lemmy, you want to come in? And you're like, yeah, all right. I'm going to click on and tell us some great stories.
I had just put my teeth whitening solution in. And there was Kayla, and you've been asking me to come on, and you know what, you did the smart thing. I'm working right now, and I'm always dying to procrastinate, and so.
Well, I'm like you, where if somebody calls and says, "Hey, can you come to this thing in 2 weeks?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm just not going to make that." I know. If you call me like 5 minutes from that minute and go, "Hey, can you come over?" Yeah, I probably can.
You're right. You're right. No, it's smart. And even if I really, really want to do something, there's a good chance I'll cancel, and 100% chance I'll blame the kids.
Oh,
only
we all do that here.
Yeah, they're the best. The kids. I'm not gonna make it. There's an earache issue, and she puked.
Yeah, it's a stomach thing. I don't want to get your kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's bad. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else good about children except for the excuse factor?
We have our kids are working for us now. We have them doing things. We have them dust. We make them dust.
How did you get them to do it? Cash? Was it cash?
No.
So my wife is the redheaded equivalent of the South. She's Cuban.
Oh,
that's even deadlier than a redhead, I believe.
Yeah, it's So we're all scared of her. We're kind of like the photo negative of the Kaler household. Like it's 3 guys and a scary woman. Three. Sure. And so like I dust with the kids. That's the part I omitted. Like she gets us all dusting, and it's just so we can,
Well, I have the kids. They unload the dishwasher. I've gotten Hannah walking the dog. Picks up the poop. 8 years old. She'll take the dog out.
Really?
When did that start? That must be new.
I've been, and it's funny too. My wife was like, "Well," she even said the other day. My wife was like, "Well, if you unload the dishwasher, well, I'll give you $1." And I go, "No. No way! That kid is not getting $1 for that. She only has like 2 or 3 chores. She can do that."
I think you have to stop. You have to stop doing that, James.
I should pay them?
No, I don't think you should let your daughters pick up poop anymore. I have a theory about.
Okay. Can't wait to hear this.
I think young girls that pick up poop become slutty. Because they'll take anything in their hand. Anything is, everything pales in comparison to what's,
I mean, listen, you've raised some great points, and I will take it into consideration. I will.
I don't want to see the comments right now. Did I? I bet I said something.
Nobody said anything yet, but it's coming.
About Cuban food, and at this point.
Do you ever get the feeling like these days you can't say anything right? I feel like like I'm pretty in tune with what's happening in the world. I've got my ear to the street, and I'm a good-hearted person, but I still feel like I can't say anything right anymore.
Well, I was laughing the other day. They're remaking White Men Can't Jump, and I was like, "Wow, you can say that, I guess." But you couldn't make a movie that said black guys can't jump. Like you couldn't invert it. And I'm honestly going to get canceled just for that last phrase that I just said.
Yeah, you're done. You're done.
They say things like white, it's like, I don't know. I think the pendulum's swinging back, and we talked about this because I think your movies and your new one, Quasi, coming out is so Monty Python, crazy, Super Troopers, Broken Lizard that I think everything is going to swing back. People are fed up with it, man. People are fed up with being afraid to say what they want to say and just joking about, let's remake Blazing Saddles. Somebody just commented. You could not make Blazing Saddles right now.
You want to hear?
No. Oh, definitely not.
There's a restaurant near me in the valley, Monty's Steakhouse. Mm-hmm. And we were there a few years ago, and Mel Brooks was in the next booth. And he was talking about Blazing Saddles. And it was amazing, first of all, just to be sitting next to hearing Mel Gibson talk about Blazing Saddles with his dinner companion, but he was saying, I don't think you could make it these days.
No way.
He was talking about certain things. He was like, it's people are, it's not that they're squeamish now. I mean, he was saying people can't handle it now. Everybody's too afraid to speak about things. I wish it was like, I wish we could just delineate exactly what the problem is, because it's like, my group of friends growing up in New York City we were all mixed, and we would all make fun of each other. everybody's ethnicities and races and backgrounds and religions. And but it was good hearted. Like there was nothing serious about it. And that's the thing is I sometimes, now look, I'm Hispanic, but I don't feel like I'm in a group that's discriminated against. So I should probably just shut the fuck up, truthfully.
No, I get it too. When I was a kid, you went to Spencer Gifts and there was a bookshelf and it said Polish jokes, Irish jokes.
Yes.
You could just pick the book up. They were all the same jokes. They just changed the ethnicity, right? To whatever.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Did you hear about the blank ethnicity that was tried to blow up a car? Burned his mouth in the tailpipe, and you go like, "Yay!" Everyone laughed, but nobody can take a joke anymore, man. Everyone is like so sensitive about like you hurt my feelings. But when I was a kid, it was sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me, is what we used to say. Now it's like no, names are pretty hurtful, I guess. So I don't know.
I think what I think we should do is we should find. It's funny. It's like we go after redheads in Tacoma FD.
Oh, did you? I didn't ever notice that, Steve. I never noticed that.
And
everyone's clear. So I show up, and of course, I'm getting old, so I'm not quite as red as I used to be. I'm more salt and ketchup, and now it's even more salt, less ketchup. But Jason, they go, oh, we got to dye Kayla's hair. It's got to be red. It's got to be red. We got to dye it red because that was the joke. For some reason, I was a red-headed cop. And so they would dye my hair every time I showed up. I go, what does it matter? It's kind of red. And they go, no, it's got to be red for the joke. And I go, all right, whatever.
But then our hair person dyed it purple, which is why we keep referring to Jamie's purple hair.
Yeah.
But that's okay. It's like we thought about it.
It wasn't totally her fault because I didn't go in any previous days. I went in for hair and makeup and I was supposed to be on set in like 45 minutes. And then the poor woman, they were like, oh, you got to dye his hair red. And they want him on set in 45 minutes. And they were like, all right, whatever. And so it was this thing. And I was like, okay. I go, is this going to look different on camera? Yeah, I'm sure it will. And then I walked on set and Hasty was the first one to light me up. And she was like, up with your purple head. And I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. I've seen the pictures from of you with the purple hair.
I mean, it just made me laugh. I mean, it does seem like a guy who went to Grecian formula. It fit the character, I thought.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we didn't color correct it in post because we were like, whatever. Polanski dyes purple.
You guys, and we talked about it that day. I was like, you guys should make some jokes about this. Like, this is too obvious. I thought for sure Panisi would light me up about my hair. Like, hey, are you dyeing your hair? Crazy. Like, I should have been a line or two, but yeah.
It's a good idea. We'll do that this season.
Yeah. No.
We have two,
shave my head and just grow a big beard for my episodes.
We'll dye your beard purple.
My merkin. I'll wear a merkin and I'll have
good idea.
Yeah.
What are you saying that you shave? And you need to put on a merkin if we take your pants off?
No, when you get to a certain age, it's all white and wispy. It's it starts to fade away. I don't know.
Oh, Jesus.
No, I keep it clean. I'm clean, front and back.
Yeah, well, you're military. You guys shave everything.
I still keep the patch of hair that's at the bottom of my spine that covers my tramp stamp. But aside from that, everything else is squeaky clean.
Well, you don't want anybody to know how easy you are. And that's smart.
That's right. Yeah.
That's true. I find myself sometimes every now and then, maybe like once every 2 months, my hand finds its way back there to that tramp stamp patch. And I just behind my back, I pull it out as far as it can go. I'm like, yeah, it's longer than you think it's going to be.
Yeah. And then I get some shears and I'm shaving it like that. Have you done that?
I have not done that. No.
You haven't? Oh, I trim it. Yeah. Because otherwise it gets too long, it gets caught in my pants. The whole thing.
By the way, that should be the name of your first single. I trim it. Yeah.
That's for the next album, my brother. I've started the new album and I'm trying to figure out bits. So that'll be on the top of the list, Jim.
I trim it. Yeah. That's I should probably leave on that, right?
Honestly, yeah, because I want you to come back on another night when we actually tell people you're going to be here. And so, yeah, man. But I thought it was great for 420. You showed up, Super Troopers. I'm sure a lot of these people who, honestly, they were like quoting the movie. So I'm sure they're all like, right.
And your teeth look fantastic, Steve.
They do.
Thank you very much.
I gotta get in shape. You're getting ready for the role, prepping.
I'm not drinking. I exercised twice today. Like I jogged this morning.
Yeah, double sessions. Does your trainer come over and put you through the mill?
No, I don't do trainer. I can do it myself. I'm not going to be like a Marvel superhero. I just really need to, get camera presentable. It means like, getting off the beer, like this stuff that comes. It's actor bullshit. Look at me complaining about it. It's just actor bullshit.
Well, listen, I mean, you're the face. Scroll up. Let's take a look at the poster right above your head. The other side. Where are you? There you are. I mean, come on, that cat right there. You gotta. All of a sudden, you've set this look that you have to maintain. I mean, look at that dude. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You done the cover of Muscle and Fitness? No, we did Crackle. What was the cover?
Here, hold on. It's Crackle. Hold on a second. Look, this is the dorky thing right here. Talking about like Patrick Swayze and George Clooney. They did like a million magazines. I did one, and I keep it handy so you can see it. There's Crackle.
Wow.
Pretty great, dude. That's pretty great.
Crackle. Firefighter magazine. It's actually a great magazine.
Yeah. Well, it's one of our sponsors now, Crackle. We get sponsored by Crackle.
They're about mental wellness, and it's a firefighter magazine, but it's for everybody. And it's like, because firefighters for years. I mean, firefighters see shit. You know about that. You're military. Firefighters see stuff. People don't realize what firefighters do, and it's like these guys. I've met so many firefighters now, and it's like the stories they have are hysterical, but they've got terrible stories. And for the longest time, they were kind of taught to just try to swallow it and not deal with their feelings. And if you did have issues, you were a pussy. That was the pervasive mentality. And now they finally changed that. And therapy is almost mandatory for the firefighters. And this magazine deals with that every issue. It's a wellness magazine, but it's like, it's for everyone. And
that's how I feel about parenting. I mean, honestly, we did the show and we turned it into Parental Mental Health Tuesdays because I know a lot of parents were like, you know what? Before I had kids, people would do jokes. My father used to joke. He goes, "I'm going out for a pack of smokes, Peg. Not sure I'm going to come back." And we'd all laugh in the house. Herb's going out for a Schlitz and a pack of Lucky Strikes, and he's gone. Nowadays, they go out for I'm going out for a kombucha and a Jamba Juice and not coming back. But I never understood it. I was like, who would leave their kids? Then you have kids and you go, look, I'm not going to do that, but I totally get it. I totally understand. You know what I don't understand? I don't understand the guy who has a second family 2 hours away in Columbus, Ohio, where he's like, I'm on a road trip working. I'm a salesman, and he has two family. Like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy?
Yeah, that guy's a glutton.
2 weeks ago, Jamie Kaler called me to check on my mental health after my twins broke me and found me. He called and I was sitting in my van outside my house crying, eating cheeseburgers, just waiting for the calm.
He has little twins and then another boy.
6 years.
Yeah, 6 and 3, I think, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and that's he's hanging on by.
And the twins are basically the second coming of Lyle and Evan Menendez or Eric Menendez.
Yeah. Yeah, and it goes on for a long time. I'll tell you, Kaler, I told you this, recently, probably 6 months ago, my wife and I realized we're like, God, we're not what we were before. Our relationship is not what it was. And we were like, let's figure this out. Let's do it. And we saw a therapist, and then we started doing it on our own. We actually realized we would argue during the therapy sessions, but then afterwards we'd go one-on-one and we'd talk about therapy and actually be really calm with each other and be really honest. And it was like, when we admitted that for this to work, we had to be honest about ourselves, what we were doing wrong, instead of just accusing. When we could volunteer what we thought we were doing wrong and also hear what the other person thought we were doing wrong, it actually it turned us around. It didn't even take that long. and we're the best we've ever been. We're back to what we were before the dating, or when we were dating. But I think that I don't know that that could have happened until our kids reached a certain age. Our kids are 8 and 10 now, where like we could actually, for instance, take an hour to go up to our bedroom and have a conversation and like hug and kiss and like hash things out with each other. And like, whereas before we couldn't do that because the kids required constant supervision. Now they can take care of themselves. We can send them outside, go kick the ball, you know? And it's like, it's fantastic. With 3 and 6, like, you know, I hate to say it, but it's like, there's resentments build up. Like it's a hard time. And like, and those kids can break you individually. They can break you as a couple. Like they don't even have to do anything. And the parents can just turn on each other because they think they're doing more. And each parent thinks they're doing more than the other one. Like it's no joke.
That's actually kind of happening here now. And they attack like a pack of velociraptors. And like, it has, I mean, there are times. So my wife, she had some health issues and that on top of like the breaking of with the children, there are days when Jamie calls and I am close to the end. It's not good.
Who would have thought that the dude from Super Troopers would have the best parental advice that we've ever had on the show? On our 420 show, by the way. All of a sudden I was like, wait, this is actually like the most sincere, honest. This is good.
Well, but that's the thing. People don't, you know what? People don't want to be honest. And it's like, my wife and I now are like fucking honest with each other. And it's like, and we do it once a week. Now, once a week on Saturdays, we're like, let's go talk. And if either of us has had like a day cocktail, we're not going to do it because then our fucking, you know, Latin tempers will flare up. But it's like, we do it. And it's like, we're just honest with each other. And it's like, it's such a relief to be honest and like, you know, but you have to be honest with yourself. And you also have to realize that after like 2 weeks of being super honest, that third week, you're like, I don't feel like being fucking honest. And I'm tired of feeling like shit, you know? And then it's like, but you're like, but no, do we want to make it to the end? Yes, we want to make it to the end. Okay. So we're going to do this. And it's like, and then you come out of it and you fuck like mad dogs and like, you know, and you party and you laugh and you smoke weed and you drink and you have more sex and you're like, this is the fucking best. Why weren't we doing this the whole time?
I'm bringing my wife over. We're gonna have a double date.
Can I just have you FaceTime my wife and have you just give her that same talk?
Yeah. I want to chat with your wife, but
yeah, but in like Jamie, you guys you're almost at the age now where you can do it. It literally is when the younger one can be left alone. Like now we'll go on walks and we'll leave the kids in the house. You know, and we tell, you know, we go through the rules, don't answer the door, all that shit and stuff. But like, we can actually get alone time now. And like during the daytime.
We're at 7 and 8. Claire's 7 and Hannah's 8. But
yeah.
My wife still has panic. And it is still, I don't think it's just my wife, because a lot of moms I talk to, they have this, you know, she saw some story today about like a guy who was killed in a road rage, who's the father of 5. He said something to this other guy and they shot him. And I was like, yeah, there's 350 million people in this country. You know, but now she's like, whoosh. She goes, well, you know, sometimes you get angry when you drive and I'm afraid that you're going to get shot. And I go, what? I mean, I could easily, yes, but the odds are low. I would say the odds are low.
Right. The odds are low, relatively speaking. The odds
1 in 3 tops. 1 in 3. And I can live with those odds, Steve. That's not a big deal.
No, that's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. 33%.
Yeah, it's just 33%.
Dude, we gotta. You know what? Okay? Well, let's let him go because I feel like we going for like an hour with you.
He's already given me this sage advice. I don't want to.
Ross interview is going to be so anticlimactic after this. The only reason we did this thing was because we did the Brian Ross interview. But hey, Tacoma FD new season's coming out fall.
No, February. Oh wait, I'm not allowed to announce that.
Okay, so sometime
2023.
Soon, early 2022. When's Quasi coming out? The new Broken Lizard film.
Let's see. We'll probably have a test screening in like 3 or 4 weeks. Hopefully this fall.
Yeah, fall. Nice. I love it. It's super funny. I saw one of the early cuts, and it's great. And you're what, can we say anything? We don't want to say anything about it. I don't want to get out of the bag of anything, but it's coming. And for 420, everybody go get high and then go back and watch Super Troopers. Definitely buy it. I mean, buy it on Amazon Prime so that those guys can.
Yeah, 1 and 2. Two's a good one.
Beerfest.
Love Beerfest. Beerfest is great.
And honestly, I think you need to do Potfest, right? Weren't you talking about doing that at one point?
I mean, there was a joke at the end of Beerfest. We had Willie Nelson come out and be like, "Oh man, you're trying to get in the super secret weed smoking competition, and Cheech and Chong crapped out on me. Will you guys join?" We're like, "Yeah, we were in Amsterdam," and then we go in, and then it says coming soon, Potfest, and immediately Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent people reached out to us, and they were like, they want to do this movie. And Willie was like, we are doing that fucking movie, aren't we? And this is like 2006. Willie's still here, by the way. But like, the problem is the studio. They don't believe that there's, they think there's a cap on what a pot movie can make. And so they don't want to do it. We already have the idea. We have a few ideas for Potfest, but I don't think it's going to get done.
You don't think with the legalization that's sweeping across the country that it could be a big, I mean, dude,
there are soccer moms on Instagram talking about it in their vape pens. So I feel like it's a little different now.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Hell, Half Baked or something where it's like people aren't.
Listen, I'll take you guys. You can speak to the president of Warner Brothers and make your case.
Warner Brothers. All right, dude, I love you. I can't believe you. It's thanks for popping on. It's super.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you, man.
Likewise.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve Lemme. See you, buddy. I'll text you later.
All right. How do I get out of here? Oh, leave.
Oh, you're out. You're out, Steve. That's it. You're free.
What a fun surprise.
That was awesome, wasn't it? I know.
Yes. That's the best advice I've ever gotten on this show. Hands down.
Sincere. He has, in his new movie, I think all of their movies, what the great thing about their comedy is that they have heart. Because a lot of times it's just stupid comedy, but without heart. It doesn't resonate and stick. And the new one, especially Quasi, I loved. And it's so much heart in it. It's a great movie. It's really fun.
I like them simply. I mean, Super Troopers is a fantastic movie, but they also got you to get your hair purple, which I really enjoyed.
Are you kidding? Being on Tacoma FD is my favorite show I've done since My Boys. Like, one of the guys was asking, I forget who asked the question, but they were like, what was your, was it fun as it seems? And Tacoma FD is. People show up early, nobody leaves, they stick around, they watch everybody else shoot, and people just laugh their asses off. It's super fun. Yeah. And everyone's a family affair. All the cast and crew are like family members or from the other, like it's just this wandering cast of people that are all family. So it's super fun. Yeah.
Do you know what I love about this show is that every time somebody like him or Richard Marx comes on, my kids are so young that I always get like this great, like there's always that this moment of like parenting advice that comes to me that like sticks with me from then on. It's kind of a surreal way to get parenting advice.
Well, his wife's a sweetheart too, and it's great that he said all that stuff because it's so true about that. So we'll have to pull that clip off and put that up and share it with people. But all right, listen, yes, Joe, but we're chugging Das Boots. By the way, my wife's out of town and my kids are in the other room. We were supposed to do like 20 minutes before we introduced the interview. So would you do the honors and introduce the interview, Jason?
Yes. We sat down with our good buddy Dennis Chapham and Brian Cross, who is a cannabis lawyer, and he brought to us kind of the ins and outs of, number one, the cannabis industry today, some of the history behind 420. And one of the most important things I think to take away from today's interview is how to talk to your kids about drugs, coming from the guy who's already done it and is in that field. It's a great interview. It's about a half hour long, and there's some funny stuff. Kaler's at his Kalerist, and enjoy the show.
I tried to be funny, but it was like being funny in a courtroom where the judge was like, yeah, don't do that. And I was like, that's what I do. And, but he kept being like, he's dead serious, but the information's great. And the story about 420, I was enthralled listening to the tale that he told, even though I definitely inserted a few jokes here and there that I think he was like, what are you doing? So, yeah.
There are a few times if you just look at him when he's just like,
woo. And he's a pot lawyer. I think he's lawyer first and then pot, but it's super great. So, hey, thanks for everybody for just kind of popping on tonight. A random I mean, that was super fun. Steve Lemme from Broken Lizard and Super Troopers and Tacoma FD showing up to chat with us for an hour.
Yep, a couple of things. Tuesday night, Celia Behar from Never Thought I'd Say This podcast is with us. The following week, Mindy Sterling from the Austin Powers movies is going to be joining us. And the 2 weeks after that, I'm going to be live in LA with the crew.
Yeah, I think we're doing a whiskey night. We also have a live stand-up show at a comedy club here, and we have a bunch of other crazy stuff we're going to do. So thanks to all. Hey, by the way, thanks to everybody a lot of you guys are sharing the show on your page.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you for doing that. Be sure to tell other parents to bring them in to help them out as well. Like, follow, subscribe if you could, and definitely tell people. It's word of mouth is always the best way to learn about stuff. So we appreciate you guys. And honestly, I'll tell you this every time. Cheryl, Jobo, the whole
Genevieve, the whole crew. Everybody's so great here.
You guys make me laugh so hard that every time I finish this show, I feel so great. So thank you to all for coming and playing with us. We
love you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the interview. We'll see you Tuesday night.
Let's welcome our guest, Mr. Brian Ross is here. Brian, hey, thanks for joining us today on, of all days, 420.
Hey guys, what's that about? What happens today?
Where did 420 come from, Brian?
Yeah, so there's a high school up in Northern Cal in San Rafael. I forget the name of the high school, but they had this this statue of Hamilton or somebody like that in front of the school, and these teenagers, they used to say, all right, let's meet up in front of the statue after school at 420, and we'll smoke out there. So that became their meeting place, and they have like 5 or 6 of these guys. They called themselves the Waldos, and I don't remember why they did that, but that's what they did. And then one of them became a roadie, believe it or not, for the Grateful Dead. So he went out on the road and they started hearing him talk about 420 and then one of the Grateful Dead guys, I forget which one, talked about it on stage, and all of a sudden, boom, it just went out into the crowd and people started talking about 420, and it became this slang for smoking, weed. And yeah, that's where it started.
That's so funny because one of our sponsors is this vineyard, 16600. Great wine, organic wine, but they also grow organic marijuana.
And a lot of it.
And they are all deadheads. They all were toured, like Phil Katuri, the owner of the vineyard. He was with the Dead. So it's kind of funny. I did not know that. Paul never told us the 420 story. I never heard that. That's really interesting.
Well, and Stanley Mouse, the guy that did the artwork, also did the artwork for the winery.
He did the wine label as the guy he's the same guy who did all the Grateful Dead.
The Grateful Dead designs.
He did all their designs. Right. Yeah.
Did he
so
do
Brian,
I just don't see the connection between Grateful Dead and marijuana. Can somebody?
I know it's a you have to really work to find the connection.
That's funny. It went viral before social media or anything like that to really give it that fuel,
which is a real testament to it in and of itself.
Yeah. Now,
how cool is it when one of your you and your buddies' little inside jokes becomes like this global marketing? It's also probably like everybody says they were in that group. How many, there was probably 5 guys in that group, but now everyone's like, no, I was part of that 420.
Right.
I was like,
right. Well, I think there's a documentary about these guys somewhere. Probably make an interesting story. The Waldos, yeah.
So Brian, honestly, the best part about this is that you are a lawyer. So, I mean, one of us probably will be calling you one night for legal advice, I'm guessing. But talk about really quick. The joy of having you on is the fact that not only are you a dad, 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
But you also are a lawyer who specializes in the cannabis industry. Talk about that.
And how do you pick that? Out of all the different lanes you could have possibly had as a focus in law.
Well, sometimes it picks you. And actually, I have a few different focuses, right? So for about 25 years, I've been a lawyer really working deep with the tech industry and new media and internet and all that kind of stuff. So I spent almost a decade in big law firms, and I was working on things. I was one of the guys that, was bringing down Napster and bringing down Grokster, all those companies that were, letting you trade music files online and, keeping the world safe for copyright kind of thing. And then I went in-house and I became the in-house lawyer, the general counsel at a tech startup. And then over about 11 years, I was at 3 tech startups, and they were growing, and 2 of them got acquired. So one of them got bought by MTV, One of them got bought by Verizon. So I spent a couple of years at each of those companies. So I was at companies that had 3 people, and I was at companies that had, 200,000 people globally, right? So it was a big swing, and it was real interesting. And then about 7 years ago, I went back into private practice with my partner, who also happens to be my wife. And she's an amazing litigator, 20 plus years in her own right. But she left a big, Century City law firm here in LA and started her own thing. So when I left Verizon, I decided to plug into her practice. So I still work with all these tech companies. But about 7 years ago, I started being approached by folks in the cannabis industry. And this was 2016. And this was, California had about 18 years under its belt of this kind of unregulated world of collectives and medical and all this kind of stuff. And then we were looking ahead because Prop 64 just got passed by the voters. So they were going to make cannabis legal for 21 and older starting in 2018. So they were going to roll out this whole program where they were going to help help companies go licensed and get regulated. And so we saw this big change coming, and people are trying to figure out how to prepare for that. So I started working with these companies, and I realized, all right, it's different than digital, right? I mean, working with digital companies, ones and zeros, it's software. Working with cannabis companies, it's a tangible product. It's an agricultural product, right? Or it's a medicine, or it's an intoxicant, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, there's still companies that are trying to grow and do the right thing and have smart contracts and protect themselves and do things the right way. So I started working with them, and now it's a real interesting part of my practice.
Well, the green rush, right? That was the green rush. Everybody was coming into all of a sudden. I remember when it was you had to go like, oh man, my back hurts and I can't sleep.
Down on Venice Boardwalk.
Like, let me ask you, have you ever heard of marijuana? And they go, no, I haven't. Would that help me sleep? Well, I don't know. Do you like your food to taste better? And do you think movies could be funnier? Then yes, maybe marijuana is right for you. I mean, was it all of a sudden, it felt like an influx of money? Because I'm going to tell you, there's too many pot shops. I mean, it's crazy. The green, yeah. I mean, I have kids, and we drive by a store that says
ice cream.
And then my kid's like, hey, what's that store selling? I'm like, oh, that's she goes, I like ice cream. And I go, not yet, but you probably will one day.
Right. But it's interesting, you talk about parents and responsibilities, and we all have a responsibility as a parent. At some point to sit down and have that talk with our kids when it's the right time. If I'm talking to my kids, I'm going to explain to them it's for adults, it's very similar to alcohol, and it's for grown-ups with developed brains. It's supposed to be people over 25 or older, really, is when you can safely probably use this without hurting yourself long term. And in terms of what it does to your body, you could sit down and break it down with your kids, but it's probably, maybe a little bit more benign for the body than alcohol in some ways. But they've actually done some interesting studies in states like Colorado, which are a couple years ahead of us as far as legalizing. And they've actually been finding that the crime rates go down around the licensed dispensary, and property rates, property values actually go up. And, it's about a culture of following rules, doing things safely, keeping it out of the hands of kids, keeping it off the roads when people are driving, would be impaired, all that kind of stuff.
Right. It's some of the same issues as alcohol. Like we keep bringing it up, and you've mentioned it as an intoxicant. And I feel like that's the approach that I will take with my kids. They're 4 and 1. So I feel like I don't have to have the weed talk quite yet, but it's coming.
Right, when you booked Brian to come in and you were like, oh, he's a cannabis lawyer. I honestly expected like Tommy Chong to pop in here. And be
I really didn't know what we were getting.
First of all, the law.
I'll tell you, if you go online and you go on Instagram and these other places, you'll find some lawyers who are real colorful about it. And a lot of them came from this world of, hey, it's not legal yet, but it's kind of tolerated. So they started in the criminal defense law world. And they were representing guys who got busted for possession or whatever. And then eventually, as it started getting legalized, they mutated into corporate lawyers and things like that. But a lot of them still have that root. Me, I'm a straight up, big business, lawyer. I'm classically trained and that kind of thing. So to me, this is just another emerging industry to help do the right thing and succeed, if that's what has to happen. But there are some pretty colorful lawyers out there.
Well, the taxes alone, it seems insane to me that it's why. Do you know why it was originally illegalized? That's not the right word, but why it was, because it was legal many moons ago, and then
It was everything else,
I
right?
thought it was Hearst or something, but something about hemp or something or other. Do you know the story of why it was first made illegal?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, cannabis use goes back like 10,000 years in human history. And then you fast forward to around the time when the colonies started, America, when we came over from Britain. And hemp, that's what they used to call it. And hemp was actually a legally required crop. It had so many uses for rope and fiber and other things that the crown in Britain actually required the colonists to grow hemp here. And And some of the earliest versions of the Declaration of Independence were printed on hemp paper. And some of the earliest versions of the American flag, like Betsy Ross made, they were made with hemp fabric. Okay, so this is a real, history for us. And then it was in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia, which is like this big encyclopedia of all the drugs that can be, used, prescribed or whatever. Up until the late 1800s, you could go out and get a tincture or whatever with cannabis in it. But then around the 1930s, we experimented with alcohol prohibition here in America, right? And
I love that phrase. We experimented with not drinking, and we all agreed.
He knows well about prohibition.
We tried it. You know
Yeah.
what? It was like it's like when people take like sober January and they go, like February, they're like, you know what? Let's where's my Manhattan?
Jamie made it 2 weeks into January and blew it.
So is that why they were like, you know what? Let's get rid of alcohol and everything else.
Yeah.
Nobody can touch anything anymore.
Well, the pandemic came and we were all like, no, we need as much alcohol as humanly possible.
Yeah, well, it's a funny experiment because really prohibition only lasted like 11 or 13 years in America for alcohol. But you could see, with Al Capone and organized crime, whenever you make something that people want prohibited, they're going to find a way to get it. Right. So after during this period of prohibition, the U.S. built up this big enforcement mechanism, right? And there was this guy, Harry Anslinger, who kind of ran the whole thing. And then when alcohol became legal again, he had a bunch of agents who didn't know what they were going to do next. So he, I think, made it his personal campaign to villainize cannabis. And part of what he did was, he got people like Hearst involved, because people who were printing, newspapers on, what do you call it? Paper made out of tree bark or whatever, they felt threatened by the hemp industry. And then, you had a lot of racism that was much more, entrenched back then. And so they started blaming cannabis, usage on, people who are brown or black.
The jazz cigarette, right?
Jazz, and they called it marijuana, which is kind of like a Spanish sounding name, Mexican sounding name, insteed of cannabis, to make it even more.
The name, and they were like, let's just call it something foreign. Right.
And then in the 1970s, you had Nixon, and he wanted to get rid of the hippie protesters who hated his Vietnam War, whatever. And so they put it on the schedule of Controlled One substances under this new, Controlled Substances Act. And it was only supposed to be there temporarily while they evaluated it. And his own commission came back with a report that said, no, it shouldn't be on the schedule. And he swiped that under the rug and kept it on Schedule 1. And that's been part of the problem is you have these plants with all these, rich substances in them, and they haven't been studied right, because when it's illegal federally, it's hard for universities and other people to do research studies. They're jeopardizing their grant money, they're jeopardizing their licenses, whatever. So they've just been hands off. So a lot of the research has been done kind of offshore and other places, and there's thousands of studies now, but it's still the case that, we need to delve into this more.
Well, talk about kids for a second. You have 3, right? How old are your kids?
Yeah, my daughter is 17, and I got twin boys that are 12. Yeah.
Have you had a long conversation with your daughter?
I've had conversations with her. Yeah, she's asked, I know you represent these kind of companies. What's that about? And my discussions with her are just along the lines of what I told you guys. I said, you're 16, you're 17, you have a developing brain. This is not for you. There may be adults out there who can, safely consume this if it's like alcohol, but that's an adult privilege, and that's for adult brains that have fully developed. And those are for people who are responsible and don't, get on the road with it and everything else.
I like the brain development excuse. That probably
Well, but that's actually medical. There's medical science that's really looked into it and said until you're 25, your brain's still developing, so you could hold yourself back if you use this. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that too. I think having tested it before myself, where it takes you, if you don't have an adult perspective and kind of a mature viewpoint, I could see it either. I don't know on a psychiatric level, like chemically changing things, but I could see it affecting you.
Even athletes are using it sometimes for pain relief.
I was going to talk about that because the NFL is a strong proponent, and these guys are getting destroyed on a Sunday, and then they want to get a little high on their that night and Monday to kind of heal their body for the week. I mean, there absolutely is healing properties in it. I feel like, right?
Yeah, and I follow the research to some degree. I'm not a scientist, but because of what I do, I like to stay up on it. And they've been finding that it looks like things like CBD and some other of these cannabinoids that come from the plant, they have pain reducing properties. They have anti-inflammatory properties, but they have confirmed, if anyone's wondering, it's not a performance enhancing drug. So when someone gets popped for a THC test and they get banned from sports, got to wonder what's behind that, because it's not making them a better performer. It's not like illegal steroids or human growth hormone. Like Sha'Carri Richardson, she wasn't allowed to go to the Olympics, right?
Right.
And so that's a horrifying, incident, in my opinion, because some people believe it's racially motivated, and I don't know if I can blame them for thinking that because of the way it went down. But certainly has anti-inflammatory properties, and then there's some cannabis designed to make people much more relaxed and locked in on the couch, right? And that's going to affect them differently. But there's a lot of people using it to really treat their pain or their anxiety or whatever, and they're not using it just to get blasted. And so it affects everyone differently because you have different tolerance levels. And
how many times have you driven, Dennis, or any of you guys, where you see somebody on the freeway and they're kind of going slow or something, and you go past them and the guy's totally got his vape pen just blasting away? Yep. It's 10 in the morning. They do have to.
Sometimes it's your Uber driver.
Most of the time it's my Uber driver.
Well, that'd be pretty rough.
You're like, come on, dude, I gotta get to the appointment.
They need a test. What the cop should do, he should just walk up to the car with a bag of Taco Bell and on a little portable TV, show an old Rob Schneider movie, like The Animal. And if the guy eats
he's high.
Taco Bell and starts laughing at Rob Schneider, you go, it's over, buddy.
Is there currently a test? Do you know? Is there a way to determine in the field outside of
there are tests people use. They're trying to develop breathalyzers and all kinds of things. And there are tests that they use, but I think a lot of these, DUI defense lawyers can really poke giant holes in that, because unless someone's totally falling over sideways, it's really hard to prove that they were actually impaired.
I remember when it was first, I think California was one of the first states where you could get it medicinally, right? This was years ago, before I had kids. And so I went down, it was in Venice. Everyone was like, you just go down to Venice Beach. There's a little doctor's office. You go in, Dennis, you know what I'm talking about? I forget the first year it was medical.
Bring your in-state ID.
Early
90, 95, right, 95, 96, yeah.
I go into this weird office on Venice Beach, and I'm the only white guy anywhere near the building. And there's a bunch of gangbangers there. And there's one bench on the wall, and this dude who's a bodyguard, total security guard, is you sit over there. And I sit down. Each gang guy literally goes in. The doctor comes out. He's like, next. The guy goes in 15, 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds. And the dude would walk up with holding his card, right? He'd walk out. I go, and we're sliding down this bench the whole way. And finally it gets to my turn, the goofy white guy. And I walk in. The doctor he has a lobster hand. I think he's a thalidomide, maybe, or whatever. He's got a lobster hand. He's wearing board shorts, flip-flops, and just a white lab coat, just over the top of the whole thing.
A PhD, if I ever saw one.
So I sit down and I'm super nervous. I'm like, what is happening? And he goes, So what's the problem these days? I go, oh man, I'm having real insomnia. I can't sleep, which is what everybody told me. They said, just tell him you have insomnia. And so he starts going, have you tried melatonin? Are you eating well? Like he's got all these other things. And I'm like, yeah, I've tried that. He goes, well, is there anything else? I go, I'm depressed. I've had horrible depression. I'm starting to list. He goes, yeah, have you seen anybody about that? I go, yeah, I think I've seen some people. Anything else? I'm like, just give me the card. What are you doing? And finally, I'm like, my back's hurting. I'm like listing this long list of shit that's happening. And finally he goes, you thought about trying marijuana? And I go, what we're all here for? There's a whole gang out in there waiting for their.
He was probably reading you as a narc. That's why he put you through the extra.
Yeah, probably.
Right?
It wasn't until later I was like, I think that's fucking with me. And then other people go, nah, they thought you were a narc. Which
That's what it was.
a cop on TV.
That's why you always get those roles, Jamie. Jamie's always
You do have one of those faces.
Top military guy. I'm sure the guy, like subliminally in his head, had seen something I'd done. I was like, that guy feels like a cop.
Yeah, I've seen him in a cop uniform somewhere. I know it.
Have you guys ever seen water running downhill? It's gonna go into these little cracks and crevices. It comes up to a dam. It gets stuck for a minute. Then it finds a crack. It always finds a way, right? And it's the same like Jurassic Park. Nature finds a way.
Jeff Goldblum? Did we get Jeff Goldblum to do this? It's
right? Exactly. Like you squeeze an air balloon and this part gets squeezed, but this part bulges out. Like whatever you do in an unregulated situation, people are going to find their way. And that's what happened. And so other states learned from what we did.
Right.
And when they rolled out their medical laws, they made it stricter. Some states said, well, no, you got to go to a doctor. You got to get a medical letter. But here's the interesting thing about California. Doctors the guy who prescribed you, he didn't prescribe you. He recommended it.
That's right.
Because a prescription is under your DEA license as a doctor. That's federal. So there's no prescribing something that's illegal federally. They write you a recommendation, and that's what you take to the dispensary. So part of making it legal federally would be, oh, now it's prescribable. I guess what that means. Probably Blue Cross would have to cover it if it was a medicine, right?
Oh.
So now you start getting all kinds of
you're paying co-pays.
The insurance companies do not want that.
Well, you should see West Hollywood. They're really, ahead of the curve, right? And they opened up a bunch of new licenses a couple of years ago, and then COVID slowed everything down. But they're still rolling it out. And the idea is they're allowing these real state-of-the-art companies to come in and create these experiences where it's like, oh, here's a restaurant, and here's the dispensary, and here's a place you can actually, consume it on premises.
Right.
And they can't mix alcohol and weed, and they can't really mix food and weed because of the way the regulations, but they can get pretty close. And they're starting to, it's not looking like your father's, dispensary anymore. It's starting to look like, Starbucks or whatever. So yeah, in today's world, there's a lot to deal with. There's social media, there's other things. Our job as parents is just to, do the best we can, stay up on it and try to give them common sense to go out in the world. That's what we try to do. I don't know that there's any perfect
your kids have common sense. Anybody else? What's that? What is that about?
I don't know. I'm afraid of my kids.
I feel like Brian's kids are the oldest, so he has the most perspective, especially with his 17-year-old. Like,
well, mom and dad are both lawyers too, so the kids are. If I get into a trouble, I can call one of them and they'll come bail me out somehow.
Right?
If they get in trouble, they're gonna have to deal with us first. That's
yeah. They have.
But has your daughter ever tried to lawyer you?
Executioner at home.
Yeah. Wait. What'd you say, Jason?
I said, has your 17-year-old daughter ever tried to lawyer you? Like if she did something, does she ever try to use your own techniques against you?
Yeah, she tries to jujitsu us, and we're not having it because we got rhino skin. We hear that stuff all day long, when we're in the office. No, my wife knows. She knows how to hold her ground. So my daughter, she knows what she can get away with and what she can't. That's for sure. Yeah.
Your daughter's got to be tough, though. Growing up in a house with two lawyers at all times, having to navigate the arguments, that's a completely different upbringing.
Do you think your kids want to get into law?
I don't know. We support them whatever they want to do, but they ask us sometimes, and we say there's so much you can do. You don't have to be a lawyer. Believe me, there's a million ways to go out there and if you want to be getting rich, lawyer's not the easiest way to do that. That's for sure. I hear a lot of, parents asking questions about this, but I've also met a lot of parents who have real amazing stories. A lot of people started companies because their kid was diagnosed with, whatever, and they were looking for medicine to help them and nothing was working. And then they landed on this cannabis and they started seeing a real improvement, and they went and they talked to their doctor, but you don't learn about cannabis in medical school. So doctors are kind of they're well-meaning and they want to help their patients, but they just don't understand this thing called the endocannabinoid system, which is part of our bodies, which a guy in Israel discovered in the 60s, a scientist. And it's throughout your body, these receptors. That's why cannabis works on you, because your body creates these chemicals naturally. It's called like an anandamide. And it's kind of the euphoria that you feel from, a runner's high or whatever. Your body creates it. It's an endocannabinoid. It's from inside your body. And then there's phytocannabinoids, which come from the plant. And they have a key that fits into your lock. And that's why it affects your body like any drug. So your body has these built-in receptors through your muscles, your brain, everything, which is why cannabis has so many effects on you. But doctors don't understand this yet that well in the US. So that's why a lot of people can't really talk to their doctor about it. So I've met a lot of parents who are doing some amazing things, trying to get cannabis, into research studies and trying to get the right kind into their kids. And I got to say, it really opened my eyes. And that was one of the reasons I got into the industry, because I really saw, this isn't just about how can you be, Cheech and Chong. This is about how can you really do some good, And you talked about people being in jail. That's another
thing. Real quickly, because the two of them, super old, super healthy, right? You think about other comics with drugs and everything. Cheech and Chong, I saw Tommy Chong on a show recently.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal shape, high all the time. So
yeah, well, he's an extreme example of consumption, like Snoop Dogg. And some people are just known for being high all the time, and somehow it works for them. I don't know if it would work for a lot of people, but
Seth Rogen was the person I was thinking about, who's kind of these people who brought marijuana to the forefront of culture, right? And are very liberal about their use of it.
Well, you're talking about like soccer moms and people starting to talk about it openly. That's this whole social stigma thing that's going away as it gets more normalized, right? And that's part of doesn't necessarily mean acceptance. It doesn't mean that if it's hurting you or it's ruining your life, you should be doing it, and we should all be happy for you. It's about just making it part of the lineup, like scotch, tequila, whatever. It's one of the things that are available there. And if you want to be responsible, then all right.
There's still a stigma, I would say. Dennis, would you agree? Even in California, I feel like there's still a stigma to it. Like you're not at school, you'll be at school, right? And the parents will talk and go like, "Oh, we had a great class. We just, we were super beat up, and we opened a bottle of wine and tore it up. Maybe we had a little too much wine." Not one parent has ever been, "Woof, I got super high last night."
They do, because it's
fine hunters on
LA. Like they do.
It says that, but it's out there. Like everyone I know, like my really good friends are like, yeah.
But those discussions are starting to happen, right? And that's going to happen more and more. And there's a novelty to it when it first becomes legal. People are curious, they want to understand, and after a while, it starts to become boring. And that's an interesting thing. In states that have legalized, we talked about crime rates, going down around dispensaries. They've actually found that teen usage hasn't jumped in states where it's legal. In fact, in some states, it's dipped down a little bit. And they're like, why is that? Well, for one thing, if your boomer parents can do it, it starts to get boring. It's not taboo anymore.
Oh, it's not cool anymore. Gotcha.
Right. And secondly,
gonna go enjoy life. You guys stay high on the porch.
Right. And the other thing is, if it starts to be legal and it becomes cheaper and easier to find it in a tested, regulated place, the drug dealers have less places to go. And drug dealers don't check IDs, but the stores do. So it actually becomes harder for teens to find it if they really want it. So it's actually kind of interesting if you do it the right way. And they all have rules about how you're allowed to market. You can't make it look like a kid's candy. There's certain things you can't do. But
do that though, man. They still
do the black market guys. Sure.
That's cotton candy flavor. Is it cotton candy?
Yeah. Well, you saw Mike Tyson. He just came out with something called Mike Bites, and they're shaped like little ears.
Little ears. I saw that.
Oh, and then gummies, marijuana gummies that are Evander Holyfield's ear.
Yeah. But here's the funny thing, right? In the state of Colorado, they're not allowed to sell them because the state has a law in the books. You can't make a gummy in the shape of an animal or a human body part because it attracts kids, they think. So it's making it look like an ear.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to redo it. And then you can't do interstate commerce, right? Because that trips up into federal laws, because all the states decided, no, we're afraid of that. So we're going to make it so you can't take it out of our state. So if you want to have a multi-state company, you have to go to each state and have a different arrangement set up. And so what about California? We make avocados here. It's a great climate. We ship avocados across the whole country. We're the breadbasket of America, right? if they made interstate commerce legal, that would probably happen for states like California too. But that'll be interesting to see if it opens up.
Well, they're dealing with that here right now because I live right on the New York and Pennsylvania border, and it's legal in New York, but not in Pennsylvania. And so they'll get the medical recommendation in PA, in New York, and then they try to bring it back and forth. And there's been like a whole battle between businesses and the legalities of it here.
That's the Jurassic Park thing, right? It finds a way. People find a way.
Oh, if people want to get high, they're going to find a way.
I know some of them took out post office boxes in the New York side so that they had a mailing address for there, even though they didn't actually live there.
Well, kids do that. Districts, man. They do that. They go for school districts to do that. Well,
the get high thing is true, but there's also the thing about the medicine I was telling you. I've known families that have moved from Texas or whatever to Colorado just so they can get it for their kid who has epilepsy or things like this.
We had Greg Grunberg on from Heroes and from Lost, and his son has epilepsy, and so he had told us. And we do live shows sometimes, and people comment along. And one of the questions was, does cannabinoid oil, whatever it is, cannabis help? And it didn't with his son, but he did say, yeah, for 75% of people with epilepsy, it will get rid of it, like completely. So yeah, it's crazy that it's such a great medicine.
Right? It would affect where you move, where you live. Like you're making conscious choices based on the legality of the medicine that you need. That's fascinating.
Yeah. And this is why it gets so frustrating when you think about, okay, we talked earlier about cannabis is on Schedule 1, which means that from the government's official position, it has no accepted medical use. Meanwhile, the government themselves hold a patent on cannabinoids helping with degenerative brain diseases like Alzheimer's. They hold a patent on the medicine in cannabis, and they say it's medically, there's no medical use. Right. And you have thousands of studies that find medical use, and you have doctors who are starting to, and then you have states who aren't going to wait around for the feds, and they're saying it's medically acceptable, right? And it's kind of maddening.
We gotta get Oliver Stone on this. He has to make a movie like On Any Given Sunday. Let's get high, like something.
Snoop Dogg for Congress.
Snoop Dogg for
Seth Rogen. Yeah, a proponent
would win
because you're right. If there's no focus, if they don't get it, like, look, we got the war in Ukraine, we got 100,000 different things going on. We're not going to do this. Get a proponent elected, they'll push it through the agenda.
There are proponents, and they're in there. There's some guys there's a guy Ed Blumenauer, I think. He's from I don't know.
See, exactly. But Snoop Dogg, you would know. You would remember. Be like Snoop Dogg representing the 47th district of Long Beach.
Totally killed it. He'd be like, what? Hey, Brian, that's all the time we have for today. Dude, thank you so much for joining us. Listen, if you have questions and stuff about this, where can they come find you?
Yeah, they can come find me. I have a website, Ross Legal Corp, CORP, rosslegalcorp.com. I also put out a bi-weekly free email newsletter if people want to keep up to date on things like laws changing and research and what's going on in the news with cannabis. That's called the Ross Report. And if you come to my website, you can learn more about it, or you can email me at Brian, Brian, at rosslegalcorp.com. Yeah, I like to help people keep up to date.
You're nothing what I expected. I expected, I thought you'd be a pot lawyer, but you're just a lawyer who kind of covers pot.
Yeah, there's going to be more and more of us. Lots more suits in the industry. Just keep watching.
Where there's money.
And Brian, I'm very sorry for anything you found on my computer on my Napster in 2001.
I mean, he does have a little Lars Ulrich, right? He looks a little bit like Lars Ulrich from Metallica, who was like the main dude trying to stop everybody in Napster.
Yeah, Lars was out there early and often, there's no doubt.
So really, we brought Brian on to learn more about that world, but what we discovered is he's the guy responsible for all those Napster emails.
That's right. I still remember like downloading stuff, and then you'd go to download like, oh, ain't talking about love, Van Halen, and you download it and you go, virus. Oh man, my computer. I'm on LimeWire searching for some. Do you remember? That wasn't that long ago.
That was long.
Yeah. LimeWire was one of the companies we took down. And I think LimeWire is back. Now they're like a crypto company or something, I think. Yeah.
What?
For another day. We'll have to have you back when we
need to hear more about the Brian Ross taking down illegal music.
Yeah. All right, dude. Hey, thank you so much, everybody. Big hand for Brian Ross, and hit him up on his website and check into it. But happy 420, everybody.
Thank you, Brian.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Lounge next week.